There's a secret that cannot be measured by money, by fame, or by applause. It is a secret that Napoleon Hill himself confessed did not come from men, nor from books, nor from institutions, but from God. A secret that stands behind every empire built with integrity, behind every life lived with unstoppable persistence, and behind every destiny fulfilled. That secret is the divine connection between faith, purpose, and material success. And if you are willing to listen not just with your ears, but with your heart, it has the power to transform the course of your life starting today. Napoleon Hill spent decades interviewing the most powerful men of his era: Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Rockefeller. He sought to uncover the formula behind their unimaginable success. And while he documented strategies, mindsets, and habits, there was one thread that tied them all together, one current that flowed beneath all their decisions and actions. It was the conviction that success is not born merely of effort, but of alignment with a higher order, with the purpose God has planted in your soul. You see, most people believe success is just about hustle, about grinding harder than the rest, about pushing until exhaustion. And yes, effort matters. But Hill discovered that effort without faith collapses. Persistence without purpose becomes empty. And wealth without God destroys the soul. That is why some people rise quickly only to fall into despair, while others rise steadily, unshaken, and leave a legacy that outlives them. The difference is the secret Hill learned from God. True success is spiritual first, material second. Faith is the foundation. Not just belief in yourself, but belief in the unseen order of life. Belief in a God who orchestrates opportunities, connections, and resources at the exact time you need them. Faith is the invisible force that carries you when your logic says it's impossible, when your circumstances scream, give up. Hill wrote that faith is the eternal elixir that gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. But let us go deeper. Faith is not only about believing you can. It is about believing that God has already prepared the way. It is not you forcing doors open. It is God unlocking doors you could never reach on your own. And then comes purpose. Purpose is the compass, the direction of your faith. You can have faith in many things, but without a purpose aligned with your soul, your energy is scattered. Purpose is not invented. It is discovered. It is the whisper inside you that tells you why you are here. It is the fire that refuses to be extinguished even when everything outside tells you to quit. Hill taught that definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement, but what he was really pointing to was the divine design embedded in each person. You are not created randomly. Your desires, your talents, your vision, they are not accidents. They are fingerprints of God on your destiny. When faith and purpose unite, success is inevitable. But not success in the shallow sense of accumulation, rather in the deeper sense of fulfillment. The money, the influence, the opportunities, they come because they're drawn to a person who is aligned. But the true reward is the stability of soul, the peace of knowing you are walking the path God designed for you. And this is the secret that so few understand. Spirituality does not compete with material success. It empowers it, stabilizes it, redeems it. Without God, success is fragile. With God, success is unshakable. Think about the storms of life. A man who builds wealth without faith is like one who builds a house on sand. It may look impressive, but when the winds of crisis blow, everything collapses. But a man who builds on faith and purpose is like one who builds on rock. The storms come, but the foundation holds. This is why Hill said that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Because with faith, even failure becomes fertilizer for growth. Now pause and reflect. What are you building on? Are you chasing money without meaning? Are you working tirelessly but without a sense of divine direction? Are you holding on to fear because you cannot see the full picture? Remember this. God does not require you to see the whole road. He only requires you to take the next step in faith. The light appears as you walk. Napoleon Hill himself admitted that his greatest discoveries came not from intellectual brilliance, but from surrender. There were moments he did not know how to continue, times when he felt overwhelmed, discouraged, lost. And it was in those moments, when his own strength was gone, that he turned to God. And what he received was not just ideas for books, not just principles for success, but a revelation that the mind is a spiritual instrument, and when connected to infinite intelligence, it becomes a channel for divine creativity. Infinite intelligence. That was Hill's way of naming God's wisdom flowing through human thought. When you quiet the noise of doubt and fear, when you align your intention with love, service, and integrity, you tap into a stream of ideas, opportunities, and strength that are not yours alone. They are heaven sent. That is why some ideas arrive suddenly, like flashes of light. That is why solutions often appear when logic has failed. Because success is not only the product of human calculation, it is the fruit of divine inspiration. And here lies the challenge. Most people ignore this connection. They live only by sight, not by faith. They chase trends, they copy others, they strive without listening to the whisper within. And so, they build castles that eventually crumble. But those who embrace the secret Hill learn from God. They live differently. They rise with gratitude. They work with conviction. They persist through obstacles. And they rest knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Faith plus purpose plus action equals unstoppable success. You cannot sit and wait for miracles. Faith without action is fantasy. But action without faith is frustration. The balance is both. You move, you persist, you discipline yourself, but you also trust. You trust that even when doors close, it is divine redirection. You trust that when things delay, it is preparation. You trust that the God who gave you the dream will also give you the provision. Now, let's talk about persistence, because faith and purpose without persistence will wither. Hill wrote that persistence is the sustained effort necessary to induce faith and translate it into reality. Why? Because dreams are tested. Your calling is tested. Life will throw obstacles to see if you are serious, if your faith is genuine, if your purpose is unshakable. Many give up too soon, mistaking delay for denial. But those who persist prove themselves worthy of a destiny awaiting them. Think about gold miners who stop digging just 3 feet before striking the vein. Many people abandon their purpose just when the breakthrough is near. But persistence rooted in faith keeps you digging. And here is the secret. Persistence is not just stubborn willpower. It is spiritual resilience. It is the refusal to let fear have the final word. It is the unshakable trust that what God has begun, He will complete. When you combine faith, purpose, and persistence, the universe itself conspires in your favor. Opportunities appear. People are drawn to you. Resources align, not because of luck, but because you are vibrating at the frequency of your calling. You are living in harmony with the order of life. You are no longer chasing success. Success is chasing you. And let us be clear, this is not about blind religiosity or repeating words without conviction. This is about relationship, a living connection with God. You cannot fake it. You cannot simply speak affirmations while your heart is full of doubt. Real faith is lived, breathed, practiced. It shows up in how you respond to challenges, in how you treat others, in how you discipline yourself when no one is watching. It shows up in your courage to keep moving when the world says stop. Pause again and ask yourself, where in my life have I been relying only on my strength? Where have I left God out of my plans? Where have I confused busyness with purpose? Because the truth is, the moment you bring God back into the center, clarity returns. Fear loses power, and stability begins to grow in your soul. Napoleon Hill's writings may have been wrapped in the language of self-help, but the heartbeat of his message was spiritual. Behind the words, autosuggestion, definiteness of purpose, persistence, was the deeper reality that man is co-creator with God, that your thoughts are prayers, your actions are faith in motion, your persistence is trust expressed over time. And when aligned, you are unstoppable. This is why Hill emphasized that poverty, failure, and limitations are states of mind. And conversely, faith, wealth, and success are also states of mind. But not just mind as in human intellect. Mind as in the spirit-filled imagination connected to infinite intelligence. Change your inner state, and your outer reality must eventually reflect it. That is law. That is divine order. You may be asking, does this mean anyone can achieve wealth and success if they simply have faith? The answer is yes, but not always in the way the world defines wealth. God's definition of abundance may not match society's obsession with numbers. Sometimes the greatest wealth is peace in your heart, love in your home, freedom in your time, and yes, the resources to fulfill your purpose. God will supply what you need, not always what your ego wants. But when your purpose is aligned with service, even material success becomes inevitable because resources flow toward impact. So let us bring this back to you. You have dreams, you have goals, but beneath them lies something deeper, a calling. And your calling is not random. It is connected to your Creator. You may have ignored it. You may have doubted it, but has never left you. And today, you are being reminded of the same secret Hill learned, that your success is not separate from your spirituality. Your faith is not an obstacle to your ambition. It is the very fuel of it. And when you begin to see your faith as the foundation of your success, everything changes. The way you approach challenges changes. The way you see money changes. The way you treat people changes. Because you no longer view wealth as an end in itself. You see it as a tool, a responsibility, a divine trust. Napoleon Hill insisted that success is not measured by money alone, but by the peace of mind that comes with it. What good is millions in the bank if your heart is restless, your relationships broken, your nights sleepless? That is counterfeit success. True success is the integration of spirit and matter, of faith and prosperity, of purpose and wealth. Money without meaning is a burden, but money with purpose becomes power. Power to build, to give, to heal, to transform. And here lies another part of the secret Hill uncovered. Wealth flows to those who are channels, not reservoirs. If you hoard, fear, and cling, your spirit shrinks. But if you allow resources to flow through you, if you become a conduit of blessing, the flow never stops. God cannot pour abundance into a clenched fist, but He can pour endlessly into open hands that are willing to serve. Think about the greatest entrepreneurs of history. Yes, they innovated, they created, they worked hard. But beneath their effort was often a mission larger than themselves. They wanted to solve problems, to lift people, to improve society. And when their purpose aligned with service, abundance came. That is why Hill said, "Render more service than that for which you are paid." Because service attracts increase. Service multiplies opportunities. Service makes you indispensable. But why is service so powerful? Because service is love in action. And love is the essence of God. When your work becomes an expression of love, love for your gift, love for people, love for your Creator, you move into flow. Obstacles no longer paralyze you. Criticism no longer wounds you. Because you're no longer driven by ego, but by divine energy. This is why faith and purpose must always come first. If you only chase money, your motivation will collapse the moment it gets hard. But if you chase purpose, money becomes a natural byproduct. And the challenges no longer feel like punishment, but like preparation. Every trial becomes training for the greatness you are called to carry. Now, let's go even deeper into faith. Because faith is not passive. Faith is not sitting with folded arms, waiting for miracles to drop from the sky. Faith is active trust. Faith is moving as though the promise is already fulfilled. Faith is speaking with confidence when you see nothing. Faith is building the ark before the rain comes. Faith is showing up every day, even when the results are invisible. There will be days when your faith feels small. Days when doubt whispers louder than conviction. Days when you question your path. Do not condemn yourself for this. Even Napoleon Hill admitted he wrestled with uncertainty. But here is the difference. He persisted anyway. He continued to act in faith, to write in faith, to serve in faith. And with every act of faith, his inner strength grew. Because faith is like a muscle, it strengthens with use. If you wait to feel strong before you act, you will never act. But if you act in faith, your strength appears in the doing. That is why Hill emphasized action. Thought is powerful, yes. Visualization is powerful, yes. But without action, they remain dreams. It is in action that faith takes form. And this brings us to another profound truth. Fear is the enemy of faith. Every time you hesitate, every time you shrink back, every time you surrender to fear, you disconnect from your power. Hill called fear one of the greatest enemies of mankind. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of failure, fear of loss of love, fear of ill health, fear of death. These fears imprison millions of people who could otherwise live extraordinary lives. But here's the secret. Fear and faith cannot occupy the same space. One will dominate the other. If you feed fear, it will choke your purpose. If you feed faith, fear will lose its grip. Which means every day, you must choose what voice you will listen to. Will you listen to the voice of fear that says, you can't, you're not enough, it's too late? Or will you listen to the voice of faith that says, you are chosen, you are equipped, God is with you? Napoleon Hill was clear. What the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But what is belief if not faith in action? And where does belief come from if not from the source of all truth? This is why faith is the beginning of all miracles, both spiritual and material. Persistence then becomes the bridge between faith and results. You can believe, you can have purpose, but if you quit at the first obstacle, nothing manifests. Persistence proves faith. Persistence proves you trust the timing of God. Persistence is what transforms invisible dreams into visible success. Imagine a farmer planting seeds. He waters, he waits, he nurtures. He does not dig up the soil every day to see if something is growing. He trusts the process. That is persistence. Day after day, he shows up, even when nothing is visible. And then, in time, the harvest comes. So it is with your dreams. You plant the seed of faith, you align with your purpose, and then you persist, even when you see nothing. Because you know that in the unseen, God is working. And when the harvest arrives, it often surpasses your imagination. Because God is not limited by your logic. Infinite intelligence orchestrates blessings you could never design yourself. The right people cross your path. The right opportunities appear. The right doors open. And you realize it was never just you, it was God's hand all along. But here is something important. Wealth without spiritual maturity can destroy you. Many have risen quickly only to fall into pride, greed, addiction, or despair. That is why God sometimes delays success, not to punish you, but to prepare you, to make sure your character can carry the weight of your calling, to refine your humility, your gratitude, your integrity. Because success without these virtues is dangerous. But with them, success becomes a blessing for you and for others. So do not despise the process. Do not despise the waiting, the small beginnings, the hidden years. Those are the seasons where your faith is purified, your purpose clarified, and your persistence tested. And when the breakthrough comes, you will not just have success, you will have stability. Napoleon Hill's own life testifies to this. He did not rise overnight. He faced rejection, financial struggles, personal hardships. But his persistence, grounded in faith, carried him through. And because he endured, his writings have impacted millions long after his death. That is the kind of legacy faith and purpose produce. Not fleeting success, but lasting impact. Ask yourself, what legacy do I want to leave? Do I want people to remember me as someone who chased money, or as someone who lived with purpose, faith, and persistence? Do I want to accumulate riches only to die with regret? Or do I want to use my wealth to build, to bless, to inspire? The truth is, you already have within you the seeds of greatness. God has already placed the dream inside you. But he is asking, will you trust me? Will you align with your purpose? Will you persist when it is hard? If you do, there is no limit to what you can achieve. So rise with faith, work with purpose, persist with courage, and remember, success is not something you chase, it is something you become. The more you align with God, the more success aligns with you. That is the secret Napoleon Hill learned from God. There will always be people who tell you that faith has no place in business, that spirituality and success must be separated, that wealth is a matter of pure strategy and calculation. But if you look closely, you will see how wrong they are. Strategy can take you far, but it cannot keep you standing when the storms come. Calculation can grow your wealth, but it cannot heal the emptiness of your heart. Knowledge can build your empire, but it cannot give you peace when you lay your head down at night. Only faith can do that. Only purpose can do that. Only the divine connection Napoleon Hill spoke of can stabilize both your success and your soul. Think about the difference between those who succeed temporarily and those who succeed permanently. Temporary success is like a balloon. It rises quickly but bursts easily. Permanent success is like a mountain. It rises slowly but remains unshaken through centuries. What makes the difference? The foundation. One builds on pride, greed, and fear. The other builds on faith, service, and persistence. That is why one collapses under pressure and the other endures for generations. You may look around and see people who cheat, manipulate, and lie, and it seems like they are prospering. But don't be deceived. That kind of success carries within itself the seed of destruction. It will eventually rot from the inside out. True wealth, wealth with peace, impact, and stability, can only be built on principles that reflect God's order. Faith, purpose, integrity, and persistence. This is why you must decide what kind of success you want. Do you want to be the balloon or the mountain? Do you want quick flashes of wealth followed by collapse, or steady growth that endures? If you want to be the mountain, then you must embrace the same secret Hill learned. Anchor your life in God. Let your faith direct your thoughts. Let your purpose guide your actions, and let persistence carry you through. Let us pause and go deeper into purpose. Because purpose is not simply about choosing a career or setting goals. Purpose is about uncovering why God put you on this earth. Every soul has a mission, and that mission cannot be fulfilled by anyone else. That is why when you ignore your purpose, you feel restless, unfulfilled, and empty no matter how much you achieve. And when you embrace it, you feel alive, passionate, and unstoppable even in the face of adversity. Purpose answers the question, why? Why are you working so hard? Why do you want wealth? Why do you want influence? If your why is shallow, if it is only for ego, pride, or comparison, you will eventually burn out. But if your why is rooted in service, love, and contribution, then nothing can stop you. Because your energy will not come only from you, it will come from God flowing through you. Napoleon Hill described definiteness of purpose as the starting point of all achievement. But we must recognize that definiteness of purpose is not only about clarity, it is about alignment. You can have a clear purpose to do evil, but it will not last. You can have a clear purpose to serve yourself, but it will not satisfy. The kind of purpose Hill spoke of is one that harmonizes with infinite intelligence, one that serves the greater good, one that leaves the world better than you found it. That is why when you live your true purpose, people are naturally drawn to you. They feel your authenticity. They sense your conviction. They are inspired by your fire. But let's be real. Discovering purpose is not always easy. Sometimes it feels hidden. Sometimes it feels confusing. But here's the truth. Purpose is often not discovered in comfort, but in struggle. It is in the seasons of hardship that you uncover what truly matters to you. It is in the moments of pain that your deepest desires are revealed. It is in your greatest battles that your calling is forged. So if you're going through difficulty right now, do not see it as punishment. See it as preparation. God may be shaping your character, clarifying your vision, strengthening your persistence. Just like gold is refined in fire, your purpose is revealed in pressure. That is why Hill emphasized that every adversity carries the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Because adversity awakens purpose. And once you discover your purpose, guard it with everything. The world will try to distract you. Fear will try to silence you. Doubt will try to weaken you. But hold firm. Your purpose is your compass. It will guide you when opportunities confuse you. It will strengthen you when obstacles exhaust you. It will remind you why you began when you feel like quitting. Faith fuels purpose. Purpose directs faith. And persistence gives them both legs to walk on. Together, they create unstoppable success. Now, let's talk about persistence in practical terms. Persistence is not glamorous. It is not exciting. It is often boring, repetitive, and unnoticed. It is waking up early when no one is watching. It is practicing when you feel tired. It is writing, calling, building, showing up day after day without applause. That is why so few persist, because they crave quick results. But if you persist long enough, results become inevitable. Napoleon Hill compared persistence to insurance against failure. He said that no one is defeated until they quit in their own mind, which means the only true failure is giving up. If you refuse to quit, you cannot be defeated. You may be delayed, but you will not be destroyed. You may stumble, but you will rise again. You may suffer loss, but you will eventually recover. Because persistence backed by faith is stronger than any obstacle. Persistence is also contagious. When people see you refusing to give up, they are inspired. They begin to believe that maybe they too can overcome. Your persistence becomes a beacon of hope for others. And this multiplies your impact because success is not just about what you achieve. It is about who you inspire along the way. But here is the key. Persistence must be intelligent, not blind. It is not about running into the same wall forever. It is about adjusting, learning, adapting, while never quitting on the purpose itself. He'll emphasize the need for a definite plan, a clear strategy, and the flexibility to change methods when needed. Persistence does not mean stubbornly repeating mistakes. It means refusing to abandon your goal while being wise enough to adapt your path. And always remember, persistence is easier when your purpose is clear. If you're unclear about your why, you will give up easily. But if your why burns inside you, you will endure anything. Pain becomes fuel. Setbacks become lessons. Criticism becomes motivation. Because nothing can stop a person who knows why they are here. This is why your faith and your purpose must be anchored in something larger than yourself. If you're only living for your comfort, your pleasure, your gain, you will quit when it costs too much. But if you are living for God, for legacy, for the good of others, then you will rise again and again no matter how many times you're knocked down. That is the essence of unstoppable success. Napoleon Hill's secret from God was not just about making money. It was about becoming the kind of person who could carry wealth without losing their soul. It was about becoming a vessel of infinite intelligence, about living with unshakable faith, about pursuing a purpose larger than life itself. And when you become that person, material success is only one of the blessings that follow. So today, I ask you, what will you choose? Will you continue to chase shadows, or will you align with your calling? Will you let fear dictate your life, or will you step forward in faith? Will you give up when it gets hard, or will you persist until the promise becomes reality? Remember, God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. He has already placed the seed of greatness within you. The world may doubt you. Your past may accuse you, but none of that matters. What matters is your decision today, to believe, to align, to persist, and to trust the God who is guiding your steps. Because when faith, purpose, and persistence come together, nothing can stop you. That is the eternal secret, the timeless truth, the gift Napoleon Hill shared with the world. And it is now in your hands. There comes a moment in every life where you must decide whether you will keep living small or whether you will embrace the greater calling written in your soul. That moment is uncomfortable. It feels like standing at the edge of a cliff, uncertain of what lies beyond. Fear tells you to step back. Doubt tells you it is too risky. But faith whispers, jump, and the net will appear. Napoleon Hill understood that moment well. He saw it in the lives of great leaders, inventors, entrepreneurs, and dreamers. And he knew that behind their leaps of faith stood a divine order, an invisible hand guiding them forward. This is why Hill insisted that the starting point of all achievement is desire. Not shallow desire, not fleeting wishes, but a burning desire rooted in faith and purpose. Desire is the spark, faith is the fuel, persistence is the fire, and purpose is the direction. Without desire, nothing begins. Without faith, desire burns out. Without persistence, desire fades. Without purpose, desire wanders aimlessly. But when they combine, destiny is unleashed. So let me ask you, what is your burning desire? What vision refuses to let you sleep at night? What dream keeps calling you even when you try to ignore it? That dream is not random. It is not foolish. It is God's fingerprint on your soul. And the very fact that you can imagine it is proof that it is possible. For Hill reminded us, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But the key lies in belief. Do you truly believe? Or do you let fear steal your dream before you even begin? Belief is not wishful thinking. Belief is certainty. It is walking as if the dream is already real. It is thanking God in advance for what you have not yet seen. It is moving forward even when there is no evidence, because you know that faith is the evidence of things not seen. Belief is what turns invisible dreams into visible reality. And yet, belief must be reinforced daily. Hill spoke of autosuggestion, reprogramming the mind with affirmations, visualization, and repetition. Why? Because the mind is soil, and whatever seeds you plant will grow. If you allow fear, doubt, and negativity to take root, they will choke your dream. But if you plant words of faith, images of success, and thoughts of purpose, they will eventually bear fruit. Your subconscious mind is like fertile ground. Plant carefully, nurture daily, persist consistently, and the harvest will come. But never forget, the mind is not separate from spirit. Hill called it infinite intelligence, but we know it as God's wisdom, the divine source of creativity and guidance. When you fill your mind with faith and align it with purpose, you create a channel for God to work through you. Ideas flow, doors open, strength rises. That is why prayer, meditation, gratitude, and reflection are not luxuries. They are necessities. They align your mind with divine order. They remind you that you are not alone. And here is a truth many ignore. Success without God leaves you empty. You can climb the ladder of success, but if it is leaning against the wrong wall, you will reach the top and realize it was all in vain. How many wealthy people end their lives miserable, addicted, broken, or alone? Because they chased the form of success but missed its essence. True success is when your outer life reflects the peace and abundance already established in your inner life. That is why spirituality does not compete with material success. It strengthens it. Faith does not weaken ambition. It purifies it. Purpose does not limit achievement. It magnifies it. God is not against your success. He is the author of it. What he opposes is success that destroys your soul. What he desires is success that expands your soul, blesses others, and glorifies him. Now let us talk about the seasons of waiting, because this is where many give up. You plant, you water, you persist, but the results seem slow. You wonder if it is working. You wonder if God has forgotten you. But remember, delay is not denial. Delay is preparation. God is aligning circumstances, building your character, strengthening your faith. The oak tree does not grow overnight. Diamonds are not formed in minutes. Neither will your dream manifest instantly. But if you persist, it must manifest. Hill often repeated, temporary defeat is not failure. In fact, he argued that temporary defeat is often a blessing in disguise. It teaches resilience. It exposes weaknesses. It strengthens character. It refines your strategy. Without temporary defeat, you would never develop the persistence required to sustain lasting success. So the next time you face setback, do not despair. Ask, what is this teaching me? How is this preparing me? What seed of benefit is hidden inside this difficulty? Remember, failure is never the end unless you accept it as the end. The only true failure is quitting. Everything else is feedback. Everything else is preparation. Everything else is a stepping stone toward your destiny. And let's go even deeper into persistence. Persistence is not just about hard work. It is about spiritual stamina. It is faith stretched over time. It is the decision to keep going not because the road is easy, but because the vision is worth it. It is the choice to rise every time you fall, to believe every time you doubt, to continue every time you want to quit. Persistence is the visible evidence of invisible faith. When you persist, you align yourself with a universal law. The world makes way for those who refuse to be stopped. Obstacles move, resources appear, helpers arrive, not by coincidence, but by divine orchestration. Because persistence proves you are serious. It proves you are trustworthy. It proves you are ready to carry the blessing you seek. And let us not forget gratitude. Gratitude is one of the most powerful spiritual forces you can activate. Hill himself spoke of maintaining a positive mental attitude, but beneath that principle is gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to abundance, from fear to faith, from frustration to peace. Gratitude says, I may not be where I want to be yet, but I thank God I am not where I used to be. Gratitude opens the door for more, because it tells God you can be trusted with little, and therefore with much. So even now, pause and give thanks. Thank God for the dream inside you. Thank Him for the resources you already have. Thank Him for the lessons of failure, for the strength of persistence, for the clarity of purpose. Gratitude transforms your perspective and multiplies your blessings. Another truth Hill understood was the power of relationships. He called it the mastermind principle, the idea that two or more minds working together in harmony create a power greater than the sum of their parts. But behind that principle lies a spiritual reality. When people unite in faith and purpose, God multiplies their power. That is why isolation weakens you, but unity strengthens you. Choose your associations carefully. Surround yourself with people who build your faith, not those who drain it. Align with people who share your values, not those who sabotage them. Because the people around you influence your persistence, your faith, and ultimately your success. He'll also emphasize decisiveness as a trait of great leaders. And spiritually, decision is faith in action. Indecision is fear disguised as logic. When you delay decisions out of fear, you block your progress. But when you decide boldly, even if imperfectly, you create momentum. God can redirect a moving ship, but He cannot steer one that refuses to leave the harbor. Decide, move, trust, adjust along the way. Now ask yourself, where have I been indecisive? What dream have I delayed because of fear? What calling have I postponed because of doubt? The time for hesitation is over. The secret Hill learned is that God rewards decisive faith, bold persistence, and unwavering purpose. Your future depends on the choices you make today. And finally, let's talk about legacy. Because real success is not just about you. It is about what you leave behind. Napoleon Hill's own writings continue to influence millions decades after his death. Why? Because they were rooted in principles greater than himself. When your success is aligned with God, it will outlive you. It will bless generations you may never meet. That is legacy. That is impact. That is true wealth. So today, choose legacy over luxury. Choose purpose over pride. Choose faith over fear. Choose persistence over quitting. And know this, the same God who guided Napoleon Hill is guiding you. The same infinite intelligence that inspired him is available to you. The same faith that built empires can build your destiny. When you finally understand that faith is the foundation, purpose is the compass, and persistence is the bridge, your life changes forever. You stop living in fear of the unknown. You stop chasing quick wins that leave you empty. You begin to live with a deeper peace, a quiet confidence that no matter what happens around you, your steps are ordered by God. This is the secret Napoleon Hill learned from God, and it is the secret waiting for you to embrace. Think about it. How many times have you doubted yourself? How many times have you thought you weren't enough, that you didn't have the resources, the education, the connections, the luck. And yet, the greatest men and women in history often began with nothing but a dream. They had no guarantees, no certainty, no safety net, but they had faith. They believed there was something greater guiding them. They believed they had a purpose worth fighting for. They persisted even when logic said stop. And because of that, the world remembers their names. You're no different. The same potential lies within you. The same God who guided them is guiding you. The question is not whether you are capable. It is whether you will believe, whether you will align with your calling, whether you will keep going when it gets hard. Because life will test you. Adversity will come. But every obstacle is an opportunity in disguise. Every setback is preparation for your breakthrough. Every delay is proof that God is perfecting the details. Napoleon Hill wrote that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Seeds look small. They look insignificant. But inside them lies a tree. Inside them lies fruit that can feed generations. Your struggles today may look small, meaningless, painful, but inside them lies the seed of wisdom, resilience, faith, and success that will bless not only you, but everyone connected to you. So the next time you face difficulty, remember, this is not the end. This is the planting season. And if you persist, the harvest must come. Now let us talk about fear again, because it is fear that stops most people. Fear whispers, what if I fail? What if I look foolish? What if I lose everything? But faith responds, what if you succeed? What if you inspire millions? What if you create something that blesses generations? Fear paralyzes. Faith mobilizes. Fear shrinks your world. Faith expands it. Fear locks the door. Faith opens it. Napoleon Hill identified 6 major fears: fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. Every other fear flows from these. And yet, none of them have power over a person anchored in God. Poverty cannot defeat you when you know God is your provider. Criticism cannot silence you when you know God has called you. Ill health cannot stop your soul's mission. Loss of love cannot crush you when you know the love of God never leaves. Old age cannot scare you when you live with purpose every day. Death cannot terrify you when you know life is eternal. Faith disarms fear. Purpose defeats fear. Persistence overcomes fear. This is why you must continually strengthen your spirit. Read, meditate, pray, affirm, surround yourself with people of vision. Star your fears. Feed your faith. And as your faith grows, your confidence will grow. Not arrogance, not pride, but a deep, calm confidence that comes from knowing who you are and whose you are. You are not random. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, equipped, and guided. That truth alone can silence every doubt. But here's something else Hill understood. Success is not only about what you gain, it's about who you become. The money, the recognition, the achievements, they come and go. But the character you build, the faith you strengthen, the legacy you leave, that endures. True wealth is not just measured in dollars, but in wisdom, love, impact, and peace. That is the kind of wealth no crisis can steal. And when you live this way, success becomes natural. You don't have to chase it. It begins to chase you. People are drawn to your authenticity. Opportunities find you. Resources align. Because the universe responds to a person who is aligned with their God-given purpose. But don't misunderstand. This does not mean life will be easy. It means life will be meaningful. You will still face challenges, but they will not defeat you. You will still encounter opposition, but it will only strengthen you. You will still experience loss, but it will expand your capacity to love. With faith, purpose, and persistence, nothing is wasted. Everything becomes part of your transformation. This is the final piece of the secret. Success is not just about building something outside of you. It is about transforming something inside of you. It is about becoming more courageous, more faithful, more loving, more disciplined, more resilient. It is about becoming the kind of person who can handle success without being destroyed by it. God is not only interested in what you achieve, but in who you become along the way. And so I ask you now, What kind of person will you choose to become? Will you let fear define you, or faith refine you? Will you let comfort hold you back, or purpose push you forward? Will you quit when it gets hard, or will you persist until the dream becomes reality? The choice is yours. But know this, God has already given you everything you need. The faith is within you. The purpose is written on your heart. The persistence can be built day by day. All that remains is your decision. Napoleon Hill's life was not perfect. He faced hardship, pain, and rejection. But he also discovered truths that outlived him. He uncovered principles that continue to transform lives. And he left behind a legacy that proves one thing. When you combine faith, purpose, and persistence, you cannot be stopped. This same legacy can be yours. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be rich. You simply have to live aligned with the truth. Because when you do, your life will shine. People will be inspired by your courage. Generations will be blessed by your example. And even long after you are gone, the seeds you plant will continue to bear fruit. So rise. Rise with faith that God is for you. Rise with purpose that burns brighter than fear. Rise with persistence that refuses to quit. And watch how your life transforms. Watch how success, peace, and fulfillment begin to flow. Watch how the impossible becomes possible. This is the secret Napoleon Hill learned from God. It is not hidden anymore. It is here. And now, it is in your hands. And now, if this message has awakened something deep inside you, if you felt even a spark of faith, of purpose, of unstoppable determination, don't let it fade. Take action right now. Join this journey with me. Hit that subscribe button, because here we dive deeper every day into the timeless wisdom that transforms lives. Together, we will keep building faith, strengthening persistence, and unlocking the purpose God placed in us. Don't just watch, be part of movement. Subscribe now, and let's walk this path to true success side by side. Live it, believe it, persist in it, and your life will never be the same again.